Okay, I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yes, Abhishek.
Okay, sure. So, this program is a Certified Ethical Hacker, CHV13, which is the EC Council course. And this program is basically having 20 modules. And we start with the very basic terminologies in cybersecurity. And in each module, we'll move ahead from the basic terminologies to the attack scenarios. Along with that, we will learn how we can perform the system hacking onto the network and onto the application. And then moving forward, how we can use the social engineering attacks in order to perform or gain access to the user's accounts. And we'll also cover the web application penetration testing part in this module. So I'll just give a brief about the chapters that we will be covering in this module. And as I mentioned, there are total 20 chapters which are part of this module. And those 20 chapters we categorize into five or six main chapters. So the chapter number one, which is Information Security Foundations. So in this module, we will be covering the basic security foundations, such as what are the security elements, what are confidentiality, what is integrity, what is availability in cybersecurity, uh, how much importance CIA triangle basically provides in terms of the information security. So we'll basically start with that basic part. Moving forward, we will go to the cyber kill chain, in which we will understand uh, how does the attack progress. For example, there is an attacker, so what are the various steps he will use in order to launch a successful attack? So, firstly, he will try to gather some information about the target, and then after gathering the information about the target, he will try to make utilize of that information to create a payload. Payload is basically we can say an malicious I would say the malicious entity or the malicious data or the code that the attacker will create in order to launch a successful attack on the target. So we'll cover that part in the cyber kill chain. What are the various steps which are present in cyber kill chain, and how the attacker utilize each step by step in order to gather information and in order to prepare himself for the next steps to launch an attack. Then we'll also cover the MITRE attack framework. So MITRE attack framework is very commonly used and heavily used, which defines the tactics and the techniques which are used by the attackers in order to perform an attack. For example, there are closely 11 tactics, and there are more than 40 to 50 techniques out of those 11 tactics. So the attacker basically, every attack is categorized into a tactics and a technique. Let's say the attacker is doing the initial information gathering. So we can say that the tactic here is used in informational gathering. Now, what is the technique attacker is using? How does the attacker is gathering the information about the target? Whether he is doing active reconnaissance, means he is directly in contact with the target, or whether the attacker is doing the passive reconnaissance, that means he is doing some sniffing of the man in the middle, or he is just taking some dumps and then he is analyzing those dumps and he is trying to correlate about the target information. So that all we will understand in the MITRE attack framework. Then we'll cover the risk management. So risk management basically defines the systematic approach in order to identify and in order to access and in order to mitigate the security risk across the organizations. So whenever there is a vulnerability exists, so there is a risk associated with that vulnerability as well. For example, let's say there is an application server, and that application server will get attacked by the attacker or a APT group, which is advanced persistent threat group. Then, what is the risk associated when that server is down? Let's say there is an Amazon server and Amazon is serving a marketplace to all the end users. If the Amazon.com goes down, so what is the risk associated with that? So it won't be able to service business, and it has a huge financial loss. So we will cover the risk management part for a particular vulnerability. What is the risk ratio is assigned to that particular vulnerability, and if that vulnerability got exploited by the attacker, then what is the risk? So that will cover in risk management. Then moving forward in chapter number 2 to 4, we combine three chapters, 2, 3, and 4. So these chapters will cover the intelligence gathering and the enumeration. So in chapter 1, we have just set up our base with the theoretical knowledge and with the approaches that the attacker can use. Now in chapter number 2, we actually perform those, whatever we learned in chapter number 1, we actually perform those steps. So one is footprinting and reconnaissance. So footprinting is basically the information gathering about our target. Let's say our target is a website which is netflix.com. So the first step for an attacker would be to gather as much information as possible about netflix.com. Informations could be they wanted to know what is the IP address of netflix.com, what are the subdomains associated with netflix.com. Subdomains could be like videos.netflix.com is one subdomain, or accounts.netflix.com is another subdomain. So attacker will try to identify what are all subdomains which are present for that main website or the main web application. Along with that, the attacker will try to gather more information such as what is the backend server is being used for the netflix.com. What is the programming language in which the netflix.com is written or developed? So what is the authentication mechanism is being used in netflix.com? It's a username password based authentication. It's a multi-factor authentication enabled. So all these details will come under the information gathering or the footprinting or reconnaissance. So that we will cover in chapter number 2. In the same way, once we collect this information, so there are various steps. We will be using various tools in order to collect this information, and there are various different techniques that we'll follow. We'll also perform the network scanning. So network scanning is so we'll learn a very powerful tool in the network scanning module, which is Nmap. And in the network scanning, what we will be doing is, so we know that the devices are connected together and they form a network. Now, let's say I got one network IP address and there are 10 devices which are present in that network. So, I wanted to know how those devices are connected, which services are running on which device, and which ports are open on which device, and what is the version running of those services on those devices. So that information gathering we will be performing, and we will be using a powerful tool which is Nmap. We will also learn if behind a
നമുക്ക്
network.
ഇതൊക്കെ വന്നപ്പോ ഹരേ ഗെയിമിംഗ് പരിപാടി വന്നപ്പോ
Okay, yeah. So we'll also learn like how we can detect if there is any firewall present in front of the network, and how we can bypass the firewall, how we can bypass the firewall rule or a firewall signature in order to perform our scanning. So most of the applications they are deployed behind the firewall, behind the load balancers, right? So we will learn the tactics and the techniques which can be used in order to bypass the firewall and then further perform the scanning attacks. Yeah. Then we'll also use some enumeration techniques such as we will deep dive into FTP enumeration, then DNS enumeration, SMTP enumeration, and we'll try to gather the authentication or Active Directory that is being used in the network devices. So that will cover in chapter number 2 to 4. Once we are done with the information gathering and enumeration, then we'll move to the next topic, which will be vulnerability analysis and system exploitation. So vulnerability analysis, or we can say vulnerability scanning, is identifying the vulnerabilities in the network or the application that can be present or that can be exploited by the attacker. So that is vulnerability analysis or vulnerability scanning. So we'll use one tool which is OpenWAS, and with the help of that tool, we'll try to identify what are the weaknesses which are present in the system, or what are the security gaps which are present in the system or the network that uh, we can basically take control of it in order to launch an attack. For example, if we relate it with the real life scenarios, right? Let's say we are having let's say there is a bank, for example, in a real life scenario, and that bank is there is a lot of cash deposited in the bank. There are a lot of lockers present in the bank. So, if we think from the attacker's perspective, in that case, so the attacker will be the thief in the real life, for example. Now, he will try to identify any loophole that he can get access to that cash, or he can get access to that a locker. So he will try to identify a door, or he will try to identify a way through which he can enter into the system or into the bank building, and then he can steal some of the money or some of the information from those lockers. So in the same way, if we convert this into the data approach, or into the systems or the applications approach, so these applications are holding a lot of data of the users. So, lot of data means we are basically we are using an application. Our account details are created on that application, and if that application supports payment system, then our credit card details, our sensitive data, right, our personal information, our Aadhaar card number, and all, those are actually being stored at the backend server in these applications. So, in the digital world, the attacker's aim is to get into the system and then exploit or then gather this information which is present in the database. So that is the attacker's end goal or a motive in this scenario. And then use that information or sell that information for some money, or use that information for the personal purpose. So in this, we will try to understand what are the security weaknesses that can be present in the application systems or in the network systems, and we'll do the vulnerability assessment. Vulnerability assessment is we identify, okay, this is a vulnerability present, this is how it can be exploited. So what should be the priority of this vulnerability? Let's say attacker can access the system, but he cannot basically see the details. So that will come as a, let's say, a medium priority vulnerability. Or let's say there is a vulnerability where the attacker enters into the machine and it can read the data and then it can transmit the data, or that will be the critical level vulnerability. So we will basically assess the vulnerabilities, and we will provide the ratings or the severities to those vulnerabilities. So this will cover in vulnerability analysis. Then we'll cover the system exploitation as well. In the system exploitation, we will learn a few tools. One of the tool is Metasploit and the Metapredator, which are the exploitation tools. So we'll learn how we can use the Metasploit tool in order to launch an attack on the Windows machine, or how we can use a Metasploit tool in order to launch an attack on the Apache server. So after launching an attack, how we can read the files from that Windows machine, from a remote Windows machine, how we can launch a remote code execution and take control of the another machine. So that we'll learn in exploitation framework. Now, post exploitation, basically, so firstly, we'll exploit the machine, and then we will elevate our privileges. Elevate our privileges means, let's say I entered into the machine and I am having a low privileges. I can only access few files. For accessing few other files, I need a admin access. So in that case, I will try to basically do the privilege escalation. So that we will also learn in this system exploitation module. We'll also learn, let's say there are 10 devices in the network. We take control of one devices. Now how from that one device we can launch an attack or we can do the lateral movement to the other 9 devices in order to gather the information from those 9 devices as well. So those approaches also will cover in this system exploitation module. Next is malware threats and network attacks. So in malware threats, we will cover what is the malware landscape, what are the different types of malware based on their purpose, such as what is virus, what is trojans, what is ransomware, what is rootkits, what is advanced persistent threats. So this we will cover in this module. Along with that, we will cover some case studies such as the SolarWind malware or a SolarWind attack, and there are SolarWind Orion case studies we'll cover in this module. Also, we will cover what is how we can detect those malwares into our system. Let's say I'm using my laptop or I'm using my computer, and then I downloaded a file, and that file, to me, it looks genuine that I downloaded a PDF file, but along with that PDF file, there is a virus or a malware attached to that PDF file. Once I open that PDF file in my machine at the back end, that malware that malware also runs, and it basically exfiltrates the data to some attacker's IP address that I won't see with my eyes, but how to identify that, how we can cache that part. So that will cover in this module. So that is malware threats. Along with that, we will cover network attacks. So in network attacks, basically, we will be covering the sniffing attacks. So we'll perform the man in the middle. We'll will learn a few tools such as Wireshark is one, Buffsuit is another one, Fiddler is another one, and we will capture the traffic that is being originated from our machine to the internet, and then we'll try to basically decrypt that traffic with the help of these tools, and we'll try to understand what kind of traffic is being generated for which activities, and how we can get some of the sensitive details using man in the middle techniques. So that will cover in sniffing and spoofing. Next, we will be covering social engineering and session attacks. So in social engineering, we will basically understand how the attacker can play with the psychology of a human. So how the attacker can basically launch the social engineering attacks or a phishing attacks. Let's say the attacker tracks a movement of a user, that which site the user access, what user is about to, from where the user, basically let's say user travels from destination A to destination B every week, and he books tickets from one of the website which is abc.com, let's say, and every week he books these tickets. Now the attacker understand this pattern, and attacker basically what he will try to do is will try to create some phishing email or some phishing messages such as, hey, there is an 20% off going on, would you like to book a ticket? Because now he knows that the actual user every week he books the tickets, right? So there is a high possibility that the user will open that particular link and try to access that particular site, and that's the point where the attacker will launch his attack. So these are some very common social engineering techniques that the attackers will use. So we'll cover all those social engineering techniques. There are various tools also through which we can create basically the look-like websites, and how we can create a look-like website, how we can host those look-like websites, and then how we can get the usernames and the credentials. We create a username and the password login page, and we'll basically deliver that link to some user. And whenever the user is entering the username and password using our link, so actually we will be getting what user has entered. So those are some social engineering techniques that we will be covering in this module. Next is the attack detection and prevention system. So in this, we will be covering the intrusion detection system or intrusion prevention system. So what is intrusion detection system is so how we can detect an intrusion that is happening. So in the real life, if you understand, right? So for example, let's say we have our home, and in our home we place few sensors, and let's say we placed a camera that will detect any malicious entity entering into the house. How they can detect the malicious entry into the houses? They will have some patterns or the signatures. Let's say a guy is entering with a gun, so they can flag it, or they can basically run the siren for it. So those are intrusion detection systems. So in the same way, if we move this approach to the data world, so intrusion detection systems basically we deployed in the network, which will monitor all the incoming and outgoing traffic from our network. And if there is any suspicious traffic which is originated, or if there is suspicious traffic which is coming to our device, that will be flagged by the intrusion detection system. Now, the various tools, the famous tool is Snort, and there is another tool which is Surikata, which basically are the IDS systems. So we'll cover one of this tool in the course. And similarly, intrusion detection, and there is an intrusion prevention also. So detection system just only detects that okay, some intrusion has happened. It won't stop it. The prevention system stops that intrusion at the real time itself. How? Let's say whenever the actual malicious data or the malicious transaction is happening in the network, that time itself it will detect and it will block it so that the data cannot be transferred from one network to another network. So that is done by the intrusion prevention systems. So we'll understand the firewall architecture as well, how we can write a packet filtering firewall rules, how we can deploy the firewall, how we can write a HTTP based tools or a DNS based tool in order to detect the intrusions. We'll also learn how the what are the evasion techniques that the attacker can use in order to bypass these firewalls. So we'll also cover that part as well. So whatever limitations with respect to these firewalls and how the attacker can basically take advantage of those limitations in order to launch an attack. Next, we will be covering web application security. So in the web application security, so what we will be learning is we will be learning the comprehensive coverage of the web servers and the application related vulnerabilities. We will be following OWASP top 10. So OWASP top 10 is a body which defines what are the top 10 vulnerabilities across the globe. What are the top 10 category vulnerabilities across the globe? So such as there could be injection related vulnerabilities, there could be remote code execution vulnerabilities, there could be access control related vulnerabilities. So it will rank those vulnerabilities. So let's say in 2025, for example, across the world, let's say the number one vulnerability was exploited was injection related attacks. So injection is like command injection, SQL injection. So those kind of attacks are exploited extensively on the web application. So OS will categorize it as the priority number one. So we'll cover OS top 10, the top 10 vulnerability categories, and such as injection attacks. So injection attacks would have the command injection, SQL injection. Now the SQL injection would have the various types such as error-based, union-based, blind-based. We'll cover all this. Not only theoretical, we'll cover the practical. So we'll install few of the applications, basically the web applications, and we'll install few of the tools. And then with the help of those, we'll try to exploit these vulnerabilities on the web applications, and we'll try to understand how this vulnerability exploitation works and what data we can get after exploiting the vulnerability. We'll also learn few of the advanced attacks such as buffer overflow attacks, SOAP attacks, AJAX vulnerabilities, webhooks, web shell. We'll cover that part as well. And We'll also cover the directory traversal vulnerabilities. So, how we can traverse multiple directories on the web server, and after traversing, how we can access the file by traversing the directories on the application server. So, that part we'll cover in the chapter number 13 to 15. Next, in chapter number 16 to 17, we will be covering wireless and mobile platform hacking. So, we have wireless devices such as Wi-Fi router is one very commonly used wireless device. So, we'll understand what are the technologies used in a Wi-Fi router or a wireless device. What is the authentication used? What is the encryption used? Which encryption algorithm is used? What are the vulnerabilities and limitations of a particular encryption algorithm? And how we can take advantage and how we can basically launch an attack if there is a vulnerability present on the wireless device. So we'll understand what is WEP, what is WPA, then what are the vulnerabilities in WPA, then that got solved in WPA2, then WPA3, like that, and how we can basically launch an attack on these Wi-Fi devices. In the same way, we'll also cover the mobile platform exploitation. So we'll understand the mobile platforms such as Android and iOS, and how the components are organized in these mobile, yeah, basically in these mobile platforms, and how we can jailbreak, or what are the jailbreak techniques that we can use in order to exploit vulnerabilities on these mobile platforms. So we'll cover Android exploitation, what is iOS exploitation, and how we can basically perform the mobile device management, and how we can ensure that what are the countermeasures that we should take in order to make these platforms secure. Then in the last topic, we will be touching upon the emerging technologies such as IoT and OT security. So we do have the IoT and the OT devices, which basically, which are basically which basically are the sensors, and they take the data from the sensors and then they do computing and they analyze the data, right? So those are the IoT and the OT devices. So we'll try to understand what are the security vulnerabilities in IoT and OT infrastructure that could exist, and how the attacker basically use the methodologies in order to launch an attack on these devices. We'll also cover the cloud computing part. Cloud computing basically is yeah, so every data analysis is now happening on the cloud, right? And there are various cloud service providers such as AWS is one, GCP is another one, Azure is another one. So we'll try to understand what are the models these cloud platform uses, what are the functionalities these cloud platform provides, and what are the security vulnerabilities or the loopholes that could exist to launch an attack on these cloud server providers servers. Then we'll also touch upon the cryptographic part, like what is cryptography, what are the types of the cryptographic, such as what is symmetric and asymmetric encryption, what are the various algorithms which is used, such as RSA, DES, AES, triple AES. So we'll try to cover which one is secure, which one is recently used, what are the vulnerabilities existed in the old ones, and how we can basically use these algorithms in order to encrypt the data when we are transmitting the data from one network to the other network. Then we'll also cover a few of the challenge labs based on the real world scenarios. So we'll take, I mean, whatever we have learned in all these 20 modules, we'll take that knowledge and we will take a project on which we will be applying all the knowledge that we have gathered in all these modules in order to launch an attack on that particular application.
So guys, this is the course content we discussed. So any question on course content, guys, as of now? before doing any small practical or something, we just want to take a questions as of now. You have any questions related to this course?
No, sir.
और guys क्वेश्चन हिंदी में पूछ सकते हो, that's not the problem. आप जैसे भी comfortable हो, you guys can ask any, like Hindi English both we are comfortable. So this is our basically our red team master program, which includes CH V13 powered by AI plus a CompTIA pen test. So these two module is covered under this cybersecurity red team. So Abhishek is gonna deliver the CH part, and then later on we'll discuss about the CompTIA pen test also. So this is like you have a two option. One, you can take it with lab also, where we are official EC Council partner. We have iLab access also. So if you want to practice on iLab, we have that facility also. If you don't want to do it in that way, then you can practice on the open source tools, and we'll help you how to do it and that. Okay.
Hi, Sandeep this side. So my question is, uh, so what exactly we are going to get from these courses? Means it will it be theoretical or practical also?
Sandeep, everything is practical. This is not something, it's a theory-based course. This is a professional
Mhm.
certification. So everything what we have discussed, whatever the topics be explained here or shown here, we are gonna describe theory as well as practical, so that everybody can understand. जैसे कि last module में you can see this web hacking and all, mobile hacking or wireless, that all concept we are gonna practice, like we are gonna deliver in practical way.
Okay, so we are going to get information about how we can make secure our firewalls. Okay, so
Yes,
with
right.
this course we can do that activity
Yes,
also.
correct. This is under
Okay.
this modules, the firewall, network security, and all. It's there. Now, guys, one more thing. It's very very important. If in case you are from the networking domains, like you're working on routing, switching, or the firewall, now everything is moving on cloud security and cyber security. So this is must to learn for all the network engineer. Either you are a network engineer or you are in the clouds, cyber security is must. Even a lot of firewalls like Apollo Alto, Checkpoint, Fortinets, now they are come up with the inbuilt cybersecurity solutions to find all the vulnerabilities and all is there in under the firewalls also. So this is very very grooming what I can say the domain as of now, and you can choose, you can take a decision based out your interest. Any other question, guys?
सर ये जो लर्निंग मोड सारे मॉड्यूल्स हैं,
हाँ जी।
हिंदी भी इंक्लूड कर सकते हैं उसमें,
हाँ
या
जी, हाँ
हम
जी भाई,
थ्योरी करें
हिंदी
हिंदी
इंग्लिश
में?
दोनों करेंगे। आज क्या हुआ कि सम ऑफ द पीपल ज्वाइन फ्रॉम आउटसाइड इंडिया, सो वी थॉट लेट्स डू इट इन इंग्लिश सो दैट दे कैन अंडरस्टैंड, बट या यू गाइस ओपन, यू कैन आस्क इन हिंदी इंग्लिश, बोथ वी आर कंफर्टेबल।
सर हाउ लॉन्ग दिस कोर्स ड्यूरेशन इज, 2-3 मंथ या?
2 महीने।
ओके।
हाँ जी। गाइस और किसी का कोई क्वेश्चन? हम कुछ
So
प्रैक्टिकल भी करेंगे इसमें, तो वी आर थिंकिंग टू टेक द
this will be weekday batch, right?
यस करेक्ट, दिस इज ऑन
Monday to
वीक।
Friday.
करेक्ट करेक्ट, एवरी डे 8:30 to 9:30।
Okay, 1 hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are some people who joined like Atul sir batch also. The batch on like on Tuesday and Wednesday. So that day we need to finish the class around 9:30. But yes, rest of the days even we can extend for 90 minutes also, like an 8:30 to 10 also.
Okay, one more question from my end. So are we going to get lab access also for this course, or do we need to set up?
It's up to you, Sandeep. Like I told you, we are official Red
Mhm.
Hat partner. So if you want to take it
Okay.
as iLab, we have that
Mhm.
facility also. Everybody know like iLab is close to 8 to 9,000 rupees, where EC counselor is giving access to that, and it's for 6 months. You can practice on that particular lab. That is provided by EC council. So now, like if in case you have a EC council lab, then you don't need to do anything or you don't need to install anything on your laptop. Everything is under that particular labs. But yes, if in case if you don't want to spend that much, there are a lot of way to do these practice. Like there are open source tools available, and Abhishek can help you like how to do it that part.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Thank you.
And the people who's asking for the course details or the fee details, we are not from the admission team. I shared one WhatsApp number in the chat. You can say hi, and you can take the details about the course fee and all. We are not aware about that. Okay. Any technical question before proceeding for the technical part?
Hello. Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, currently, can I ask another doubt? Uh,
Yeah, go ahead, David.
Currently, servers. So, can I take this course and I need to start from the fresher or experience?
Sorry, in between your voice is breaking. Like, can you repeat your question again?
Currently, I'm working on server hardwares and
Okay,
troubleshootings.
okay.
So, if I take this course and if I went to job, I need to start from the fresher or experience.
Not fresher, Deepak. So basically, one thing everybody needs to understand, I have seen people who is working in networking or in server side, they are working in Active Directory, DHCP and all. So that doesn't mean they cannot move to the cyber security, because the end goal for every users now to protect the data for their company. Okay, and this is if in case you're looking for further growth and all, this is must to learn. Whatever you're
Okay.
doing on VMs, whatever you're doing on server side, either on Office 365 or Intune, because that is also cloud. Even you can move to the cloud security also. That also comes under these modules only. This cyber security and cloud security is very, very important for everyone now in these days.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Sir, can we cover dark web also?
अभिषेक थोड़ा सा इस पे ऊपर बताओगे डार्क वेब के बारे में, how we can cover up that one.
Yeah, we can touch upon the dark web part, but I think not in detail as part of this course, but yeah, we can touch upon that also.
We'll cover some of the part Aditya, in this. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So, Abhishek, now you can move to the technical part. Let's show them like some of the practicals as a beginner.
Okay, sure. Okay, give me 1 minute. Okay, so I'll demonstrate two parts. One is how we can perform, how we can basically analyze or perform man in the middle. That is part one, where we will take an example of one of the application, and we will be choosing the live web applications such as the very very widely used applications, which are generative AI applications such as ChatGPT, Perplexity AI, Google Gemini, and then we will be covering and we will try to understand what this web application, what functionality these web applications are providing, how we can capture the traffic related to these web applications, and how we can identify the injection points that we can further utilize in order to launch an attack on these applications. So that is one which I will cover. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, so mm, okay, so I will be using one of the tool which is Fiddler. Now Fiddler is basically the application and which is capable of analyzing or capturing the traffic that is being originated from the device to the internet and from the internet to the device. So now we will be using this particular tool in order to capture the traffic related to an application. And after capturing the traffic, we will try to understand what kind of traffic this application, I mean, we are generating to this particular application, and what are the points through which there is a possibility to launch an attack. So this is the application which is Fiddler Classic. I have already installed, but let me tell you the steps how you can install it. So you can search Fiddler Classic, download, and there will be a website comes which is Telerik. So here we can basically enter our details that okay, we want to use for personal use. We can give our email. You can give your Gmail or any email that you have, and the country you can select, and you just click on download for Windows. Once you download it, so this application will installed, and you can launch the application from the taskbar with its name, which is Fiddler Classic. Well, now it is capturing. Let me stop it. So once you launch this application, so it will automatically start capturing the traffic which is originated from your device to the internet. Now, the second part is it will capture the traffic, but it will not decrypt the traffic until and unless we did some configuration in this application. So in order to do the configuration in this application, we will come to tools, then we'll select options, then we'll select HTTPS. And here, when we firstly install this application, this option decrypt HTTPS traffic is unchecked. So we need to check this basically option. And once we check this option, we'll basically click OK, and it will start decrypting the traffic. So how it will do the decryption of the traffic for the HTTPS, because it installs certificate in our Windows device, and with the help of that particular certificate, whatever traffic we are originated or whatever traffic are coming, that will get decrypted in this particular tool, and we can see the traffic in the plain text itself. So let's say I'm capturing. Now let's say I open a site which is perplexity.ai, and I give a prompt, hello, what is the temperature today? So let's say I gave that prompt, and there are so many. Let me just replay this packet. Just to understand. Okay, so whenever I gave that prompt, I get so many requests in this particular tool. And if I start analyzing those requests, so I could see there is a method, request method that we can see. There's a protocol we can see, and there is a host details. That means to which website the traffic is going. That also we can see. So we are accessing perplexity.ai in our browser. So the traffic which is can be related to the perplexity.ai could be this, which is perplexity.ai as a host. And if we wanted to see what this traffic is about, we can see this is an HTTP GET request, which is going to perplexity.ai, and the response for this came as 403 in this case. That means this site was not accessible. Then after it, it sends another request to the same website, which is perplexity.ai. Here, this is hitting some API endpoint, which is API auth session. And this is a GET request. And if we try to see the response of this, I could see the user details. What are these? So if I come over here and I'll try to understand what are these details, so I could see in user there's an email and there's an ID, and the organization role is admin, then org-id is this. So with this API endpoints, I figure out that what are the authenticated user in the application. So that means with this information, I can understand that there is a user which exists with the email ID as this. So that is the first information gathering that I can do from this site using man in the middle. So that is one. Another part is we'll keep analyzing all these traffics. So in this, if there is any information that can be utilized, there is no. Okay, so we'll keep moving ahead. Now you remember we have given a prompt to this web application that what is the temperature today. That was the prompt we have given. Now that prompt would have gone from our machine to the actual server. Now we'll try to identify where that prompt has gone. So we will use the very basic terminology, which is the search functionality. So I do Control plus A, and then I hit right click, and firstly I will decode all the sessions. So then I click decode selected sessions. So Control A, that means I selected all sessions, and then I'm clicking decode selected sessions. That means I'm decoding all the sessions. Then I will do Control F, and in the Control F, it will provide me the functionality to search the strings. So I remember I gave the prompt as hello, what is the temperature today? So let's search the part today. So we'll try to identify in which packet I can get this string, which is today. So let's say today, and then try to find sessions. So one of the packet I found is packet number 108. So it's a post request. So post request is whenever we are sending some data to the actual server, and it is related to the auto suggest. That means it is suggesting something. So here I'll try to understand where exactly it is identified that today as a word. So in the request, this is HTTP request. It is not present, and in the response, it might be present somewhere. Right, that's how we got the hit. But the response is the traffic which is coming from the server. This is not the traffic which we are sending to the server, to the Perplexity server. So we have to identify the packet which we are sending to the server. So let's see if there are any other matches also for that word, which is today. There are two more matches. One is this, and in this also in request I could not see. This is a get request. This also a get request. I could not see that particular statement. Then I'll move ahead and I try to see where exactly I can get. Then again, this is again get request. That also not having. This also not having. Then packet number 218. So these all are get requests. So whenever I'm sending something to the actual server, so it won't be the get request in HTTP. It will be either a post or a put or a patch request. So we have to look for those packets which are having post as a request method, patch as a request method, or put as a request method. We scroll down, we eliminate all these get methods. Then we see this packet number 272. So it is endpoint is perplexity underscore ask. If I try to see, it is a post, there is some data going. Here I try to understand what is the type of data this is. So I got to know that the content type of this data is application JSON. That means this data is a JSON type. Now, there in this tool, there is a JSON parser already available, which is here. So I just simply click on JSON and it will parse that JSON data. Now I'll try to understand where my query is going. So here, okay. Here I identify a parameter which is DSL underscore query equal to hello, what is the temperature today? So this is exactly the same string which I asked to the perplexity.ai application. Now I try to understand what else data it is sending. This is okay. This is some flags it is setting and all these details. And there is a one more JSON object, which is query str, that is also having the same string, which is hello, what is the temperature today? Now I identified, so I gathered two information. One is I identified endpoint, which will take the input from the user. And secondly, I identified in that endpoint what is the JSON object which takes my input. So there are more than 50 JSON objects, right? This is one JSON object, this is another one. So out of those 50, this is the one which is taking the input or which is carrying the input. So now understand, as a normal user, I will give a normal query to perplexity.ai or any application. But as an attacker, I will not give normal query. I will not ask what is the temperature today. What I will do is I will try to give some malicious commands. I will try to give some command injections, and I'll try to see how the application is behaving. So in order to do that, if I simply doing again simply coming here and every approach I'm typing the queries over here. So that will take a lot of time. So what I will do is I'll create a wrapper or I'll create a function that will repeatedly send this particular request, and I will just modify the content of this parameter with the commands. And I'll send repeatedly in order to understand how the application is behaving. And this is the same approach the attacker uses in order to launch an command injection attack. So that is part one. Similarly, we'll try to perform this exercise onto a application which is a vulnerable application, DVWA. We will perform a command injection attack and we will try to read a file which is present on that application server. So for that, basically, I have installed a VMware workstation, and inside that VMware workstation, I have installed an operating system, which we will be very commonly and widely using in our CH labs, which is Parrot operating system. So I'm just powering on this Parrot operating system. Okay, let's take power on. Okay, so inside this Parrot operating system, so this is Parrot is basically built on top of Linux operating system. So underneath, we are using Linux commands. So in Parrot operating system, I will run a Docker container for the vulnerable web application. So firstly, I'll pull the Docker image, and how we can pull it, there is a Docker command, which is Docker pull, and the container name. So the container name is SAZIKAZARMARK slash DVWA. So this is the container name which I will be pulling. So first I'll pull this container and then I will basically run this container on this machine. Okay, so this is pulled and it is up to date. Then in order to run it, I will use a command again, docker, then run. Then I'll give -rm. That means once my work is done, just remove this container. Then I'll use -it. Then I'll run on this container onto a port. In this case, I'm choosing port number 8080. colon 80. And then again I'll give the name, which is SAGIKAZARK/TVWA. Okay, so I have run this container now. So this container basically hosts the web application. So application is just now we have seen perplexity.ai, right? So that is a web application. So in the same way, DVWA is also a web application. This web application we launched on our local machine. So in order to access it, we will go to the browser. As we have launched this machine on port 8080, so I will type localhost 8080 and I'll type login.php page. So once I come to this page, it will ask me the username and the password. So the default username and password for this application is default username is admin and the password is password. I will hit enter. Not now. Then for the first time, I have to set it up. So I will create the database. I'll click on create database. It will create the database. And then again, I have to log in. So let's say admin, then password. And I'll click on login. So now I have logged in to this web application. Now, as it's a vulnerable web application for the practice purposes, you could see the left hand side. These all are the vulnerabilities that we can practice on this web application. So for this, we will perform the command injection related vulnerabilities and we'll start with the very basics one. So we will first click on the DVW security and I will lower down the security level, which is low. Low is the very first step for exploiting any vulnerability. There are various levels which we can increase based on the vulnerability we wanted to exploit. So I made it low and then I click on command injection. Now on this page, I'll try to understand what this application is asking. It is asking ping a device and it is saying enter an IP address. So let me add a random IP address and try to see how the application behaves. So let's say I'm putting 8.8.8.8 and I'm putting submit. So the output the application is doing, it is sending a ping command to this particular IP address and it is telling me that okay, it has sent 4 packets and it received the 4 packets back and there was 0% packet loss. Now this is what the normal user will do. To normal user, this application is asking enter an IP address and the normal user will enter the IP address. But the attacker will not write just only write the IP address. What attacker will do? Attacker will write some commands that can execute at the backend. So let's say attacker types 8.8.8 and attacker will type a delimiter in order to separate the two commands. So he put let's say semicolon and then let's say he put a common command that is the Linux command which is ls. That means list down all the files and the directories from the current directory and it try to submit. So now if you see the first command was the ping command and that got executed when we hit the IP address. Then there are three new entries which we can see. One is help, another one is index.php, another one is source. So which was not present earlier. That means the ls command that we have given that is listing what all files and folders are present in the current directory. So these are the three files and the folders which are present in the current directory. Now with this approach, attacker can identify what all files and what all folders which are present in the current directory in which the code is running. Now, once he identified the file names, so he identified one file name which is index.php. Now he will try to print the content of index.php. So 8.8.8.8, let's say in this case, and then semicolon, and let's say then it says I use a command cat index.php. And he try to hit the enter. So now you can see it prints the content of the index.php. So as it's a PHP file and we are opening in the browser, so that PHP file is rendered in the browser and it basically opens the same page, like enter an IP address, whatever the page is running, right? So in the same way, if there is a file present such as etc/password or a some sensitive file which is having some sensitive data, the attacker can simply use the commands in order to print the content of that particular file. And with that approach, he can easily see what are the file content present and he can easily exfiltrate the data which are present in that file. So that is the command injection vulnerability. The basic command injection vulnerability is how does it works on the actual web application. Okay, yeah. Any questions on this part? Uh, like how we can gather the information and then based on gathering the information, how we can basically launch an attack on the web application.
Yes, my question is, if suppose that website is encrypted with SSL certificate, so
Mhm.
this is going to work?
Yes. So if the website is encrypted with SSL certificate, that means whenever we are sending the data, right? Whenever that CLS communication is happening between our site, which is client, and the actual server, in the network, the data is encrypted under TLS, right? But if we use a man-in-the-middle tool such as Fiddler, and in that Fiddler, we can decrypt the data for that SSL encrypted application. And once we decrypt the data, we will see a payload. Let's say if I'm just trying to display it here, let's say I use inspect and I use a network over here and I gave a command which is 8.8.8.8 and I submit it. So you see there is a request course like a post request. If you click over here and you try to understand, so in this post request there is a form data going which is having the IP 8.8.8 and there is a submit. So in this IP, the what the attacker will do is just now we have seen, right? So here the attacker will basically manipulate this data. So in the same way, attacker will capture the traffic like this approach. So because perplexity.ai, that is also SSL encrypted, right? That is a public application. And we are able to see the data of perplexity.ai in the decrypted form in this particular tool. So in the same way, attacker will make use of these MITM tools in order to decrypt the data for the SSL encrypted sites.
I have one question what about the same.
Mhm.
My question is like usually if I generate any traffic towards the Google, so my public certificate will use which install my browser, which install my certificate library, and
Mhm.
only on those certificate my data is encrypting, and only the Google's private key will be only able to decrypt. But
Mhm.
how if MITM tool like Fiddler is able to decrypt that particular data, even it does not have any private key in between?
So what Fiddler will do is, you remember when we installed the Fiddler, we came to the tools, then options, and then there is an decrypt HTTPS traffic, right? So let's say what actually it will do. When I click on decrypt HTTPS traffic, so exactly it will install a certificate in my machine. So let's say I have already done it, but for that part, I'm just resetting it. So let's say I reset it, what exactly steps it will do. So it is saying, so just now it is removing it, let it remove. Okay, it has removed the fiddler certificate. Now it is deleting it, okay, let it delete. Okay, so I deleted a certificate. Now this is how when you install the fiddler, it will basically will look like this. Now it is saying to intercept the HTTPS traffic, you need, I mean, Fiddler Classic will generate a unique root certificate and you must configure it in your Windows machine. So if I say yes, configure it, then it will install a certificate, the Fiddler root certificate in the certificate authority, right, in my machine. So it will install it as an intermediate certificate. Once the certificate is installed, what it will do is it will basically present, let's say I typed google.com, right? So the traffic will come to this and it will act that, okay, I am the google.com. Okay, and based on that, it will decrypt the data and then it will forward that data to the actual Google server. Whenever the response is coming from the Google server, it will again decrypt the data, sending that I am the client, and then decrypt the data and display it to you, and then actually forwarded that data to your browser. So this is how the MITM tools works.
Okay, great. But if some website having the SL pinning in certificate pinning in between, uh, those like banking extra website or some healthcare website which usually do the certificate pinning. So in that time, this MITM tool will not help, right?
Yes, that time this MITM tool will not help if the website is SSL pinned. So website won't accept this certificate and it will not work. The application itself will not work.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions anyone is having on this? Okay, so this was it for today's session. Just wanted to give an overview about the course and few of the things that we will be learning in this module in detail. So yeah, this was
So
it.
guys, today's session is basically the content what we are gonna cover in this master program in CH basically, and the approach how we are gonna do the practical and all. So now, like I have seen some of the people are already enrolled, and if you are planning to enroll, I already shared the WhatsApp number. You guys can take the admissions. And this coming Monday, we have the regular classes every day, 8:30 to 9:30.
I have another question related to the certifications, like CS V13 AI, I think it's around 50,000 something, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if we do with the networkings, so do we get any kind of benefits included?
Yes. So you're talking about one certificate or you're talking about what? Like
One,
because there are two
not master one. Yeah, not master one, just a normal CHV13AI.
Yes. Now this is the correct. So example, if you're taking a certificate with networkings, theory, practical, I'll give you both the certificate in 46, including iLab.
Sorry, come again.
So if in case you're taking including CH theory as well as practical exam voucher, I'll give you because we are official partner. We can provide in 46,000 rupees, including iLab access.
Include this training, you mean also?
Yes, no, not the training. Training
Yeah.
is something extra. This is all about. I'm talking about the certification. You asked me the certification point of view.
Yeah.
This is a certification cost.
Okay.
And even if in case you're doing a practical and theory both the exam, they're giving a one mastery certificate as in complimentary to all the like you will be considered as a master in cybersecurity. That is additionally they are offering. Only applicable once you're doing both the certificate theory and practical both. Any other question, guys?
सर हमारे पास एक लैपटॉप जो 4 GB रैम के साथ है, तो क्या वो सफिशिएंट होगा प्रैक्टिकल लैब?
आदित्य, मैं रिकमेंड करूंगा 8 GB तो मिनिमम चाहिए होगी भाई, थोड़ा सा दिक्कत हो जाएगी प्रैक्टिकल करने में।
ओके।
हाँ जी। और अगर आपने आई लैब ले ली तो दिक्कत नहीं है, मैं बताऊं।
इसके लिए क्या करना होगा सर?
वो आई लैब मतलब कि अगर आपके लैपटॉप के अंदर ब्राउजर चलता है, जैसे कि आप फ्लिपकार्ट खोल पा रहे हो, अमेजोन खोल पा रहे हो, शॉपिंग कर पा रहे हो, तो एक ब्राउजर बेस होता है कि ब्राउजर पे गए, आपने लॉग इन किया और प्रैक्टिस की।
ये परचेज कहाँ से करना होगा?
वो हम ही देंगे ना। अगर आप हमसे कोर्स लोगे तो दो ऑप्शन है, या विद लैब ले लो या विदाउट लैब ले लो। विदाउट लैब वालों को अपने लैपटॉप पे प्रैक्टिस करना है, अपने लैपटॉप के ऊपर रिसोर्सेज इंस्टॉल करने हैं, जैसे अभी बीएम के अंदर हमने काली डाला है, दूसरे टूल्स डाले हैं, तो वैसे प्रैक्टिस करनी पड़ेगी। अदरवाइज अगर किसी को नहीं करना है तो फिर आप सीधे आई लैब ले लो और सीधे ब्राउजर पे जाके यूजर आईडी लॉगिन डाला और प्रैक्टिकल किया अपना।
ओके सर।
हम्म।
ये विदाउट लैब क्या कॉस्टिंग आएगी सर? कोर्स फी क्या है?
भाई ये कॉस्टिंग का थोड़ा आइडिया नहीं मुझे, तो वो टीम बता पाएगी, तो मैंने उसके लिए आपको वो नंबर दे रखा है, नीचे
ओके
व्हाट्सएप लिंक है, तो मैंने फिर से भेज देता हूँ, हाई करके वो आप उनसे कंफर्म कर सकते हो।
ओके ओके, थैंक्स।
ठीक है गाइस, तो आज का सेशन क्लोज करते हैं। थैंक यू अभिषेक, थैंक्स फॉर एक्सलेंट सेशन।
सर मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है।
हाँ जी, हाँ जी, बोलिए पंकज।
सर मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ, जैसे आई लैब का आपने एक्सेस तो दे दिया, लेकिन हमें कोई एक्शन परफॉर्म करनी हो तो हम आई लैब ही यूज करेंगे क्या उसके बाद में भी?
आई लैब ही यूज करोगे आप, वो सब कुछ उसके अंदर है भाई, सब कुछ, मतलब वो एक मतलब ईसी काउंसलर का जो हम ये सर्टिफिकेशन पढ़ा रहे हैं ना, उन्हीं का ही टूल है, उसके अंदर सब कुछ है।
ओके, यानी कि आप एक यू बोल रहे हो कि वर्चुअल लैब हम कहीं से भी एक्सेस कर सकते हैं उसको?
एग्जैक्टली सर, आप चाहे जहां पे भी हो, आपको सिर्फ ब्राउजर पे जाके एक उनका लिंक होता है, ऑफिशियल लिंक होता है, उसके ऊपर जाके यूजर आईडी पासवर्ड डाल के प्रैक्टिस करनी है।
ओके सर।
ठीक है, चलो ठीक है गाइस, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर अटेंडिंग द सेशन।